welcome to a new episode of Treasures, in which we explore unique Egyptian sites and artifacts. We'll be back after the break, so stay with us. Coming to you from the Egyptian Museum of Antiquities, and we will be looking into the artifacts of the New Kingdom, which was the greatest era and the time when Egypt was a mega empire. I'm happy to have with me today Professor of Egyptology, Dr. Mohammed Nabil. Right now we're at the New Kingdom Gallery, the New Kingdom, which dates from around almost 60 till 1070 BC, and we will be talking about it. It's an era which comprises several dynasties. Dr. Muhammad, would you tell us a bit about the New Kingdom and the dynasties of it? And we need to explain to our viewers the eras of the ancient Egyptian history and how there was a period of decline as well. So I need you to elaborate.
Sure. First of all, the ancient Egyptian civilization has 30 dynasties, and we have three main kingdoms. We have the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, and the New Kingdom, and in between we have intermediate periods. So after the Middle Kingdom of the ancient Egyptian civilization, Egypt was very weak and it was invaded by the Hyksos. And after the Hyksos, we have a new period, which is the New Kingdom period, and it was started by Ahmose, and Ahmose was the founder of the 18th dynasty. The New Kingdom period has three main dynasties: 18th, 19th, and the 20th. And of course, Ahmose is the one who started the 18th dynasty, according to the ancient historians, though he was the brother of Kamose, the one of the 17th dynasty. So we can say that the ancient Egyptians were able to defeat the Hyksos in the 17th dynasty, but actually Ahmose started the 18th dynasty, and this was roughly in the 1500 BC.
Dr. Muhammad, now let's look at some of the artifacts of the New Kingdom. And behind me right now there is a statue of a queen. So would you tell us about her?
So this is the Queen Hatshepsut, or the head of Queen Hatshepsut, and she was the fifth ruler of the 18th dynasty and the fifth ruler of the New Kingdom period. Hatshepsut was the daughter of Thutmose I, and she was the wife of Thutmose II and the stepmother of Thutmose III. But actually, after the death of her husband Thutmose II, she started to rule Egypt, and she respected the co-regency of Thutmose III for a couple of years, but later on she wanted to rule Egypt as a sole queen. At the very beginning, she represented herself as a male, not as a female, because the ancient Egyptians actually did not accept Hatshepsut as a lady. So that's why she represented herself as a king, not as a queen. And even here, if you look at the color of her face, she has the reddish brown color, because this was the masculine color for the ancient Egyptians. Moreover, you can see the beard, so she wanted to represent herself as a male. But there is another thing that Hatshepsut did at the time. Hatshepsut created a story that she is the daughter of Amun, that Amun got married to her mother. That's why they expected Hatshepsut. That's why she is the ruler of the Egyptians, and she ruled for 22 years.
Now that's about the head of her behind us, which was brought from or found. Actually, it was part of a colossal statue at the Deir al-Bahri in Luxor. Now there is another piece here which is even different. Can we walk to it? Now, yeah.
Here we have the Sphinx of Queen Hatshepsut, and this one is completely different than the others, because here for the first time ever in history you can see a Sphinx with a female facial features. Even if you look at the eyebrows, you can see the eyes, you can see to the delicate nose, you can see the lips, but all over you can see a real Sphinx, and you can see the lion hair, and you can see the legs, and there you can see the cartouche of Queen Hatshepsut, Ma'at Kara. Queen Hatshepsut actually held the 5 titles like all the pharaohs and all the ancestors, because she wanted to prove that she is the ruler of all the Egyptians. That's why she held the 5 titles. That's why she was represented as a male. That's why she was represented as a sphinx. And the word sphinx is an ancient Greek word, and it means the living image or the living photo of the king. So here you can see the combination between the body of the lion and the head or the face of the king, and this shows the power of the animal and the wisdom of the king or the queen.
Actually, Hatshepsut was popular because her 21 years of rule, actually she did a lot of things for the domestic affairs and the trade. Now, what was one of her most important achievements?
So she had so many achievements actually, because after the 6th or the 7th year of her reign, she sent the Punt expedition to Somal, and this expedition lasted for a couple of years to bring different kinds of goods and to bring different kinds of incense and gold. And it was led by Pane Hissi, and he was the head of this expedition. And we have so many evidences of this in the Deir al-Bahari temple of Queen Hatshepsut in Luxor.
Also, there is a replica inside, and we will be walking inside that room within a few minutes, and we'll look at it. But before we step inside, also I'd like you to talk to us about, there is another statue image of her as a pharaoh, also with the female features. If you look at the one behind us here, can we walk to it?
Yes, sure.
Behind us, this is another statue of Queen Hatshepsut depicted as a pharaoh. Now, Dr. Muhammad, here it's interesting because we've looked at that statue that's in the Osiris form and she's depicted as a man, while behind us is totally different facial features in terms of the color again. And I think also the style or the type of statue is different. So would you talk to us about that statue?
Yes, this statue or this fragment is different than the other one, because the other one she wanted to say that she is a man, she is the king, but deep inside her she feels that she's a woman. That's why if you look at this statue, you can see that the female facial features are more clear. Even if you look at the eyes, the eyebrows, you can see the cheeks, you can see the nose, the lips and everything. Even the color here is different than the other one. The other one is reddish. Here you can see this one has the fair color, so this one is more feminine. So here you can see that she is wearing the khat headdress, and you can see the cobra over the forehead, because the cobra is a sign of protection, because the cobra has 24 hours opened eyes, so the cobra can protect the king or the queen for the 24 hours. You can see that the ears are exposed to allow the queen or the king here to listen to the prayers of her people. So here you can see that the facial features are different than the other one. But of course all these statues came from the temple of Deir al-Bahari of Queen Hatshepsut. The other statues, whether they were dressed in the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt or the white crown of Upper Egypt from Deir al-Bahari temple.
Well, now let's step inside to look at the rest of the artifacts. So behind us we have fragments of one of the scenes of the Deir al-Bahari. It was discovered, or part of the second terrace, and it has on it depictions of parts of the Punt expedition. It's quite interesting that the images of the queen in these scenes, as well as all over Deir al-Bahri and the rest of Hatshepsut's monuments, her facial features, her names, her images were all erased. So who did that?
So we do believe that this was done by Thutmose III, the stepson of Queen Hatshepsut, since she usurped his right to rule the country. We said before that she was the wife of Thutmose II, but Thutmose II at the same time got another wife from Asia, and she delivered him Thutmose III. And after the death of Thutmose II, Thutmose III supposed to be the ruler, but he was very young. That's why Queen Hatshepsut became the ruler of Egypt, and for a couple of years she respected the co-regency, and after that she sent him to work as a high priest in Karnak temple.
Thutmose III was one of the most important kings of the New Kingdom, and he was almost like Napoleon of the East. Yeah, so now would you tell us why was Thutmose III nicknamed Napoleon of the East?
So Thutmose III actually is the one who succeeded Queen Hatshepsut, and actually he considered his first year is the 23rd after the death of Queen Hatshepsut. So many people accuse Thutmose III that he's the one who killed her, but actually this is not true due to the latest excavations of her mummy. But back to Thutmose III, or Napoleon of the East. Thutmose III led more than 16 expeditions, and the most famous one was the war or the battle of Megiddo, where he defeated the Asiatic people, and actually he started new strategies in wars, so that's why he is considered to be Napoleon of the East. Actually Thutmose III had different strategies than his previous ancestors, because the others were concentrating on internal affairs, but Thutmose III started to think about the external affairs. That's why he had so many wars in Asia, in Libya, and in Nubia. So that's why he had very big expeditions all over the ancient world.
Right now, actually, in this hall, we have a variety of statues of him. We have the one out of, I think this is schist, isn't it?
Schist statue, yes, and it is a hard stone, and though it is a hard stone, you can see that the ancient Egyptians were very skillful to represent or to carve their statues. You can see that the facial features are very clear, though the crown is badly destroyed, but again, you can see the cobra, you can see the facial features are clear, and this is the only statue, or one of the rare statues, where you can see the Adam's apple, and it is very clear, especially if you look at the statue from the two sides. You can see that he is wearing the kilt, and he is standing with a left leg forward, and you can see that he is stepping on the 9 bows, referring to the enemies. And we said that he is a powerful king, that's why he is stepping on the enemies of Egypt.
Dr. Muhammad, this bust statue of King Thutmose III is made out of an uncommon material, usually in Egypt, which is marble. Is it common at that time that the Egyptians or the ancient Egyptian made statues out of marble?
No, not really. So that's why it is an uncommon statue, actually, and it shows how rich the ancient Egyptians were and how the ancient Egyptians were skillful enough to carve on marble. This statue is very unique because it is original except the face. The face is in the Metropolitan Museum, and here, though it is a replica, but it shows how it looked like, and you can see that this statue is supposed to be colored, and this is again shows how the ancient Egyptians were skillful to color different material statues.
This is a statue of the mom of Thutmose III, and actually it's interesting that he made a statue of her. So would you tell us about the uniqueness of this particular statue?
Yes, actually personally this is one of my favorite statues in the Egyptian Museum, because actually here he wanted to commemorate the memory of his mother, and he knows that he was an illegitimate son, so that's why he wanted to make a beautiful statue for his mother as if she is the Queen of Egypt. And if we focus and if we look at this statue, we'll notice something is completely different than the other queens. If you look at the facial features, you will see that she has the Asian facial features. If you look at the eyes, if you look at the nose, and even the lips. So you can see here the mixed iconography between the Egyptian art and the Asian art in this beautiful statue. This statue is made of a hard material, as you can see, and again it shows the power and the skills of the ancient Egyptians in carving statues. And you can see that she's wearing the crown, and you can see on the top the two cobras crowned by the crown of Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt. So here he wants to say that she is the queen of both lands. Then if you look at the wig, it is a beautiful one, and it has a different unique style of art. You can see that she is wearing a long dress, and she is sitting on a throne, and you can see she is holding a scarf, and she is extending her hand on the other side. So that's why this statue shows the beauty of Queen Iset or Iset.
Right now behind us we have a unique chapel with a statue of the goddess Hathor, and it also dates to the time of King Thutmose III. Dr. Muhammad, would you please tell us a bit about it, because actually this is a complex chapel and the statue itself is complex.
Yes, here we have something is very unique. You can see the chapel of Hathor, and you can see different kings inside this chapel. Actually, it was built during the time of Thutmose III, but he wanted to commemorate the memory of his father. Here you can see the statue of Thutmose II, the father of Thutmose III, and he is protected by the cow, goddess Hathor. And you can see that on the top of Queen or goddess Hathor, you can see the solar disk of Ra and the two feathers of Ammon. So we have different combinations of gods in one place to protect Thutmose II. But what was the reason behind carving this chapel? This chapel was carved to say something, to say that Thutmose III is the legal or the legitimate son of Thutmose II. That's why he is represented under the cow suckling from the milk of goddess Hathor, and you can see this from the side of Hathor. And actually you can see that the hair of Thutmose III is green, and it shows the fertility that he gets from Hathor. Then you can see at the back different scenes showing Thutmose III giving offerings to Ammon, and you can see that he's holding the liquids and he is burning incense, and you can see Ammon, the father of the fathers, is represented, and he gets the blessings from the father of the fathers, Ammon, Ra.
Right now here, Hathor actually is depicted as if she's coming out of the marshes. Even her house pots are different because it's as if it has the plants on
Plants
it.
and flowers. Yes, exactly. The delta was very important for the ancient Egyptians. Here you can see Hathor is coming out from the marshes of the delta. Why the delta? Because this was the place where Horus was born and was protected from Seth. And this shows the protection. So here we can see as if Thutmose III is Horus of the Egyptians. He is protected by Hathor over there. And Hathor actually is the wife of Horus. Hut-Her means the house of Horus. So that's why there is a big connection. And here also you can see different statues showing Thutmose III and behind his back or behind his neck Horus, right? And this reminds us with the statue of Khephren of the Old Kingdom, because you can see Horus is protecting Thutmose III, likewise Khephren of the 4th dynasty.
Of Queen Hatshepsut was a rich era, and right now to my left hand side there is a statue of one of her daughters with her tutor. Would you tell us a bit about the statue of Senenmut, please?
So actually here we have the statue of Senmut or Senenmut, and this statue is a block statue. The block statues started from the Middle Kingdom, as we have seen before, though the seated statues started from the Old Kingdom. So this block statue goes back to the New Kingdom period, and you can see it's made out of a one block made out of granite, so the statue itself is very well protected. It shows Senmut is seated. As you can see, he is wearing the wig, and you can see the ears are exposed and the facial features are clear. And here in the middle you can see the head of Neferu Ra, the daughter of Queen Hatshepsut, and she was the crown princess. She supposed to be the queen of Egypt, but unfortunately she died. And actually Senmut was the tutor of the tutor of Neferu Ra, and actually he achieved high ranks during the time of Queen Hatshepsut because his name was written on the temple of El Deir al-Bahari, on the back doors and even on the walls. But later on we found his names were defaced and scratched. Maybe this scratch was done during the time of Thutmose III, or maybe it was done by Queen Hatshepsut because she didn't like this action from Senmut to write his name over her temple. And there were so many rumors that Senmut was the lover of Queen Hatshepsut. However, so many scholars refused this. This statue, as we said before, is made out of granite, and again it's the block statue. And right here in the middle you can see so many titles, and those are the 80 titles of Senmut. So this means that he achieved higher ranks during the time of Queen Hatshepsut, and his tomb was erected nearby her temple. And such a man who has 80 titles during the lifetime of Queen Hatshepsut, it means that he was such a close person to the queen at the time, and he was the one who supported Queen Hatshepsut to rule the country. Because as we said before, Queen Hatshepsut, because she was a lady, because she was a woman, the ancient Egyptians did not accept her. So she surrounded herself by powerful men like Senmut and others to protect her and to convince the Egyptians to rule Egypt.
This is a slab of stone dating to the time of King Thutmose I. Dr. Muhammad, King Thutmose I, although he's not as popular as his grandson, but actually he had great achievements as his grandson and even more. So would you talk to us about Thutmose I?
So Thutmose I actually was again the father of Queen Hatshepsut, and actually he had so many achievements, and he was one of the greatest warriors of Egypt, and he is not that famous. Let me tell you something about Thutmose I, that he had so many wars in Asia, and he went to Euphrates River. He crossed the Euphrates River, and after he crossed the Euphrates River, he had a big celebration with an elephant hunt. And this shows the luxury of the ancient Egyptians at the time. Actually, he had so many achievements in Upper Egypt and in Nubia that he went to Upper Egypt between the third and the fourth cataracts, and he built a castle there, the castle of Tombos. And actually he had so many achievements in Libya, and he has a beautiful obelisk in the Karnak temple in the fourth pylon court. Also we have beautiful stele of Thutmose the first, and here we can see that his Nusubiti name is mentioned, Khepr Ka-Ra, Khepr Kara. So you can see Nusubiti, Khepr Kara, the king of Upper and Lower Egypt. And actually all the kings of Egypt had two main names, the Nusubiti and the Sara. Nusubiti means the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, and the Sara means the son of Godra. This stela is very beautiful because it is very symmetrical. You can see that it is divided into two parts, and you can see both sides are identical, and you can see God Seth is represented giving offerings to God Horus. For example, here you can see Seth is represented giving the key of life, or the Ankh sign, to Horus, and Horus was the god of victory. And this piece was found in Komblal, and it's made of limestone. We have two theories here. Either it was painted and we lost the colors, or it was unfinished and it was not painted ever.
Looked at some of the artifacts of the 18th dynasty. We've learned about Thutmose III, Hatshepsut, and we've learned about many of the historical events that took place during that time. And by this we come to an end of this episode of Treasure. Until we meet again in another place and another treasure, it's goodbye.